Well, it is here, the kind of delayed, long-awaited return of my predictions. I know, after my spot-on prediction of Virginia, everybody wants to see my oracle. Everyone wants to see what I am seeing for the governor races of 2022. Now, before I start with my gubernatorial races or my guberment predictions, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash that like button down below, subscribe, share with the friends, hit the little bell, and yes. So before we even talk about the rest of America, we gotta just enter two things in the map. This is a beautiful sight. Lee, New Jersey and Lee, Virginia. This is just perfect. This alone makes up for the sad, anyways. So Virginia has went to Youngkin by, I think, like 1.7%. The exact same margin I predicted. New Jersey, I was wrong about, but quite frankly, everybody except Trafalgar thought this was going to be like a D+9 victory. And I even said, in a best case scenario, I could see Phil Murphy lose or winning by around 5 or 6. So either way, I think New Jersey went pretty good for Republicans. But yes, so we got that out of the way. We can finally talk about the rest of the nation. Now, before we start with that, we have to start with that. What did I just say? Before we start with that, we got to talk about the national environment. Because this, folks, is a pretty big factor in my predictions. So, it's all but a certain it's going to be at least R+7 at the bare minimum at this point. In fact, we're starting to get closer to R+10. And when you start reaching that, that's not a good sign for Democrats because R+10 is fairly hard to do. I mean, I think 2018 was D+8.5, I think it was. And even in 2014, it was only R+6. We're talking about possibly the biggest red wave in the history of red waves. We're talking about 1994 on frickin' steroids. This is how bad it's getting for the Democrats. Now, let's get into it. So, let us just say that the nation swings about 15 to 16 points Republican. That means it went from, like, I think it's 8.5 point electorate for Democrats. You know, Democrats won the generic ballot by, like, 8.5. Again, don't quote me exactly, but I think it's like 8.5 roughly. Well, I predict that Republicans will win the generic ballot by around 7 or 8 points. So let's just say it's a 16-point swing nationwide. Here's what I figured out, all right, based on looking at past results. For every 2-point shift to the right, okay, that equals a 1-point shift for governor races. For example, let's look at Kansas, for example. Let's get this out of the way. I think just the national environment alone, it's going to make it like R+6. So like a 2-point shift. That's an 8-point shift statewide. If it's a 16-point shift, generic ballot, it's probably like an 8-point shift in Kansas. So that's kind of how it's going to work. But again, I'll take into account the Northeast with its Republicans, in quotes, running up here. So again, Kansas, for example, it's going to be like an R+8 state or R+6. Whatever you want to call it, it's likely. Shut up. So yes, let's get right into it. So for all the safe states, we're not even going to mess around with this. Guys, Texas is going to, whoever the Republican is, by at least 15. I don't care. It's going to the Republican by at least 15. Beto is going to get absolutely destroyed. It's not a very good pick by the Democrats. Very stupid pick, in fact, but that's just Democrats in Texas. It's absolutely useless. Alabama, Tennessee, guys, these are safe. I mean, guys, Massachusetts to say, well, if the Republican primary challenger wins, it could change. But as of now, safe Republican. Vermont is safe. I saw some election Twitter loser have Vermont likely if Phil Scott could be dead, and he would still win by at least 10 points. In an R+8 electorate, hell yes. New Hampshire now is safe Republican. The reason for that is simple. The Cookie Monster decided to run against a statewide or a Senate race. He decided against it. Now for Democrats, the obvious states, California, Colorado, Paulus, I think just don't even touch. Just don't worry about him. Just keep him there. Just let him suck up the California Democrats. Just let Colorado become California 2.0 instead of Texas. I think that's a great sacrifice. Godspeed the Colorado people. Hawaii's safe. Oh, up here in the Northeast. This is where it gets a bit tricky. In this national environment, in what's happening in America, this is where it gets a bit iffy. Now, I think that Maryland, I don't know if there's anybody that Republicans are running that could even win in 2022 in Maryland. Now, again, I could be wrong. There may be some random state legislator that's like Larry Hogan 3.0, but I just don't see it. Maryland's one of those states that governor races, it's just a pain to predict. But for now, I think it's going to be just a safe Democrat state. Unless, like, somebody that's a huge name in the state runs. I haven't heard anything. So, again, if you have heard anything big, just let me know. Let me know in the description down below. So, Maryland is safe Democrat. Now we got New York. This is another one where, before, like, a week ago, I would have said this would have been slam dunk safe Democrat. I thought for sure. But if Bill de Blasio is the nominee, we're talking about a huge shift in New York City alone. But I still believe New York is still safe Democrat. But again, if Bill de Blasio is that dumb to run, we can make that race closer. I mean, Cuomo won it by, I think, like 23. And R plus 8 electorate, I think you could get within 15 easily. Especially if it's de Blasio. I mean, de Blasio, yeesh, that guy is just... Anyways. So, that's the for sure, no bullshit, safe states. I will also add Florida to the safe column. I don't care what people say. I don't care what the shitty fake polls on Twitter say. DeSantis is winning by 10 points. The candidates he's running against are some of the worst candidates you could potentially run. You're having Charlie Crisp, not Crist, Crisp. That's what his name is now. And Nikki Fry, all right, not Nikki Fried, Nikki Fry, because she's going to get fried out. I mean, she's fundraising so much money, but here's the thing, though. All that money is, of course, from people from New York City. So it doesn't really tell you the full story. If you look at only Florida donations, DeSantis is just flat out murdering these guys. It's not even close. And again, I know there's some scumbag, like, I'm a true Republican running. It's not going to change, man. Republicans are going to go with DeSantis. DeSantis here in the primary by like 80 points at least. It's a safe Republican state. I don't care what people say. Now we got 13 potentially competitive states. Now, I'm going to address this right away. Illinois, I think, will go likely Democrat. I know I may seem like I'm on drugs. I know usually I'm sounding like it, but the prick, the fat ass, whatever you want to call the guy, lost or only won by 15, I believe. It's not particularly well in Illinois. Now, I know it is a governor race, but still, up by like 15. And if Republicans run a good candidate, like, I think what's the guy's name? Well, a former state senator's running, and he's fairly popular. I can't remember who it is, but Republicans could run a good candidate there, and with a national environment, it should shift like 6 points Republican, which would make it like a D+9 win. Now, again, this is if, the prick continues shitting the bed as governor, all right? That's just that. So, Illinois is likely Democrat. Now, Oregon, again, I know people are going to just shit themselves with this, but I'm going to say Oregon. I know people are not going to understand this, but Oregon has always, it seems like always been like likely to lean D. I don't care what people say, it's going to be lean D. I mean, I think it was 2014, it went to the Democrat by only like 5 points. So if you're having a better environment for Republicans in 2010 and 2014, it's not crazy to say that Oregon's within 5. Now, again, I'm saying this is if it's R plus 8 electorate. That's what the current prediction is. R plus 8 electorate. If it isn't, a state like Oregon probably likes the Democrats. So that's just the quick disclaimer. All right, now we got all the bullshit states of the way. We can talk about the real states. So, Connecticut and Rhode Island. Connecticut, I think, is those two states. I think Rhode Island's gonna be safe Democrat. Connecticut will be within 10, but Republicans don't have a good candidate there. I mean, unless they ran like the candidate from 2018, Stefanowski. I don't see Republicans getting within 5 there. It could happen. As of now, I don't think Republicans have the good candidates. But if Bob announces his candidacy, I'll shift it to lean D. But for now, Connecticut, sorry, James, it's still likely Democrat. Now, for the rest of these states, all right? Now we got the bullshit states out of the way. Let's talk about Nevada. This may be a big, bold gamble. I don't care. Republicans are winning this by at least 2 to 3 points. The reason I say this is simple. Republicans have good candidates. I mean, you could go with somebody like Thomas Heck, who, he's okay, but you got Joe Lombardo, who's just a Chad. You got John Lee. You got really good candidates, no matter who you run. And the Democrats, well, they're running one of the more unpopular governors in the entirety of the United States. It's not a very good sign. They have Sisolak. I like to call him Sis because that guy's just, I don't know what's wrong with him. But he's going to lose. I think by at least 2 to 3 points. The casinos shutting down killed Nevada's economy. I mean, even 2020, it shifted like a half-point Republican. With Nevada turning Republican, Sis is out. He's done. I just don't see it happening. I think he's done in 2022. Again, reminder, it's like R+8 elector we're talking about, so this is not nuts to say. Now, Arizona. This is one of the biggest shitfests of an election I've seen because of how election Twitter is handling this. You got like these Populist Inc. losers that want Kimberly Yee, who's like pulling at like 2%. Nobody's ever heard of her. And you got like the Matt Selman people, like the Ted Cruz types support Matt Selman. He's a decent enough candidate, but there's one real frontrunner, Carrie Lake, I should say. Sorry, excuse my French, but Carrie Lake, very solid candidate, very well known, and no matter who you run, you're running against one of the most inept, most hated Secretary of States in the entirety of the United States, and a certain Hobbs. So either way, whatever you want to say, Republicans are going to win this race, no matter who you run, just a matter of what margin. Now, if, let's say, like, Greg Stanton ran, then yeah, if it was Lake, I would push back on Lake, but if it's Hobbs, well, it's going to be probably the same as Nevada. I think they're going to vote basically the exact same. I don't care what people say. I just have this feeling that Lake is going to get the Trumpian base out, and with a red wave, I should say, I think she's going to pull a Youngkin. I think she's going to win by 2-3 points. Now, again, this is not Doug Ducey margins, but if Katie Hobbs runs like a Bernie bro, you may get close to that, but I don't think she will. Now, New Mexico. One of my first endorsements of 2022 was Mark Rinchetti. I've endorsed him since January. Rinchetti is running. I don't think he's going to win yet. I don't think he's the favorite just yet, but it is within 5 points. The governor there, not particularly liked. So that is a good sign for us. She's not particularly well liked. Grisham, I think she's going to hold on for now. But Rinchetti is just a Chad, and he's running. I mean, guys, New Mexico was the Senate race is almost within 5 points in 2020. So I think this is a good candidate. Now, let's get rid of the Midwest because this is quite obvious. Waldo is not losing yet, all right? The Waldo clown is just, he's not gonna lose yet, all right? But for now, I do think it's still like a lean Democrat seat. For now, I think it's a lean Democrat. Now for Wisconsin, I don't care what people say. This clown is done. This guy is done. He's gonna lose by 4 to 5 points. I mean, who's his base? He ran on the, Scott Walker is Orange Man 2.0. He can't do that in 2022 because Scott Walker's long gone. And he's irrelevant to this race. And if it's Clearfish, she may win by 5 to 6. So I think Republicans win here easily 4 to 5 points. Evers is not well liked here. Again, I'm seeing the movement. He is hated in southwestern Wisconsin. Just drive through there once. He's not well liked there. The parts that voted for him, he's despised now there. Now Michigan. Whitler's done. That's just a flat-out fact that she's done. 2018, she got carried by a terrible Republican candidate, and great national environment. That's the only reason she won. I mean, she ran against one of the pretty bad candidates. So I think Republicans, with Craig running, it's going to be a tilt-R seat. Now, Pennsylvania is one of the more trickier states to predict this cycle. This is a tough one. Here's the issue. Trump may F up the endorsements here. He may screw up this may be a one time where Trump may screw up the endorsement. Because I want Barletta. I don't care if people say Barletta is the best candidate. Now, there's some, the more Trump heavy base, they want Mastrino. Mastrino? I think that's how you say it. The state senator that did some things during the election. They want him. I don't think, stay away. Stay away from that. But I do think if it's Barletta, he's going to win. I think he'll become the next governor of the great state of Pennsylvania. Now we got 2 states left. Georgia. I don't care if people say Lenar. With what's happening with David Perdue, with his Twitter account suddenly being active, he's running. And he's going to win by 2 to 3 points at least. Perdue is the best candidate. And if Trump endorses Perdue like he has, Perdue's going to win the primary. Brian Kemp is his 55% approval rating. It's getting carried by 50% approval Democrats. They're not going to vote for him. Guys, stop this coping. Nobody like that freaking Brian Kemp simp on Twitter. He's going to lose a primary if it's against David Perdue. I mean, he's hated by the Republican base there. I mean, he was at 70% approval? And yeah, you can criticize Perdue all you want, but he's a solid Republican on especially immigration. If you want a perfect Republican on immigration, David Perdue is the best on that issue for Republican senators. Now we got Maine. One of those other states where Republicans are running a good candidate. But as of now, I think the clown's going to win up there. I do think that Mills will pull it off up there. Yeah, Republicans have LePage, a pretty pristine Republican, if I do say so myself. The former governor there, but it's just, we really have not gotten much here, other than LePage being down by 5, so I still have this lean D, but this may change the tilt D by December. So this is my current governor race. And again, this is with an R+8 electorate. This is not nuts to say. I mean, a lot of these states like Oregon, Illinois, you look at their voting history, red wave years, they're especially borderline within 5 points. Illinois is going to be within 10, I think. So this is the current prediction. Yeah, guys, O'Rourke is not going to be within 15 in Texas. That's not going to happen. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes. By the way, free Kyle. This is getting ridiculous. Thank you guys for watching.